Good day, everyone. I am Connor Garcia from Bataan Peninsula State University, Balanga campus from the College of Education. And today we are going to discuss a very important poem that most of us know or some may not. But before we proceed to our main topic for today, I want you to guess what is the word that corresponds to the following pictures. Do you have any idea what are these flowers? You can make use of those letters and transform it into a one word. Can you guess it now? Okay. These flowers are called the daffodils. So what are the daffodils? Based from my research, the daffodil symbolizes rebirth and new beginnings. It is associated with new beginnings from the coming of spring for those countries that have four seasons, and it is also one of the first perennials to bloom after the winter frost. Though daffodils do grow in shades of white and orange, they are best known for brightening up in the garden with their cheery yellow hues or colors. Okay, so the Latin name for the daffodils is called narcissus. So do you have any idea or do you have any guess about narcissus? Yeah, maybe the one you're thinking is the one I am referring to. So it is believed to be named after the son of the river god called from the Greek mythology. So Narcissus was celebrated for his beauty, but he was so arrogant. The goddess Nemesis noticed and lured him to into a pool where he fell in love with himself or with his reflection. So in England, daffodils are also known as Lent lilies or Lenten lilies because they grow typically and bloom when Ash Wednesday and also in Easter Sunday. So I have also here a research that these daffodils are the national flower of Wales. It blooms coincides with David's Day, a celebration to the patron saint of Wales. Some associated the daffodils' fruitful rebloom with David's faithfulness to his people. So aside from European countries like Greece and England, it is also celebrated in Asia, particularly the China. So daffodils bloom in the Chinese New Year, and it symbolizes good luck, prosperity, and good fortune. If the flowers bloom exactly on the New Year's Day, it means that you will have good luck throughout the year. So daffodils are also given to 10-year wedding anniversaries. That means it will be joy, it will be cheerfulness, it will be happiness. Um, the American Cancer Society representing these flowers for cure, and in March it is also called as the bird flower. So, do you have any idea what are we going to discuss? What are we going to discuss for today? So, do you think it's daffodils? Yes, it's daffodils. But this poem is often renamed as Daffodils, but the true title of this poem is I Wandered Lonely as a Child. So, what's with the I Wandered Lonely as a Child and Daffodils correlates to? So, many scholars call this daffodils aside. Many scholars believe that the true title of this poem is Daffodils, but the writer or the author of this poem referred to it as I Wandered Lonely as a Child. Okay, so it is written by William Wordsworth, and yeah, just like you see, there are representations of daffodils throughout this entire um, topic. So before we begin, let's have first the overview of what are we going to discuss for today. The first one is who is the author? Just like what I've mentioned a while ago, the author is William Wordsworth, and the work, of course, the piece itself. The third is the analysis of the work. The fourth one is the analysis of the literary devices used by William Wordsworth for this piece. The fifth one, or the second to the last, is the analysis of poetic devices. And lastly, what are the themes that coincides with this topic? So, who is the author? William Wordsworth is the author, and he is also one of the founder of the English Romanticism. So, William Wordsworth was born on April 7, 1770 in Cockermouth, Cockermouth, England, and he died on April 23, 1850 in Riadal Mount, Westmoreland. So he is an English poet who wrote the lyrics ballad on 1798, which is co-written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, which he helped to move and to go forward with the English Romantic movement. So Wordsworth was born in the Lake District of Northern England, the second of the five of modestly prosperous estate manager. He lost his mother when he was 7 and his father when he was 13. So basically, he is an orphan and lost his parents at the age of 13. So upon which he became one of the orphan boys that was sent up to his guardian uncles to grammar school in Hawkshead, a village in the heart of the Lake District. So at Hawkshead Wordsworth, he received an excellent education in classics, literature, and mathematics. But the chief advantage to him there was the chance to indulge in the boyhood pleasures of living and playing in the outdoors, and he was exposed to nature. So, which basically the reason behind why he wrote the Daffodils or the one I wandered lonely as a child. And these piece of nature has become the subjects of his works. Okay, I wandered lonely as a cloud I'm sorry, I keep referring to as a child. I wandered lonely as a cloud, or the daffodils, as other poet refers to, is written in 1802 and published in 1807. It celebrates the beauty of nature to the such extent that the poet it is not referred to it as the bliss of solitude or being alone, finding beauty in being alone. So it is for him a source of inspiration to live his life meaningful. The poem is a romantic poem, which is obviously it is written in the romantic movement, and it is based on the principle that poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings recollected in tranquility and peace. Okay, let's move now to the work itself. I wandered lonely as a cloud, the heights of high or vales and hills. So lines 1 and 2 depicts and describes that how he walked around and he felt lonely as a cloud. Imagine that you are walking in a lake district, then you see a single piece of cloud traveling in the sky. So he doesn't say walk around, but uses the much more descriptive word, which is wandered. So wandered means roaming around without a purpose, or maybe you just go around it. You're just wandering, like when you are exploring something. So it is not necessarily, but it is not also a bad thing. In metaphorical use, wandered can mean feeling purposeless, or you don't have any purpose, or in any directions in general. You have the questions, what is the meaning of life? So the first concept here is we want to take a look at the cloud as lonely. Asking questions about what this means will help us get into the poem. So are clouds really lonely? Well, maybe for some, but for others it's not. So we are giving here the valleys, the hills, which are also lonely. It's more likely the speaker is projecting his own loneliness in the clouds, but that doesn't still explain the strange image because the clouds usually travel in clouds. or in groups. So maybe a cloud is lonely because it is so far above from the rest of the world. So it's just a thought of lofty, or maybe the speaker's thoughts are too. So also the cloud could be lonely because it floats over a natural landscape with no people in it. Maybe he is also referring that the cloud passed by in the hills. So maybe the speaker has thought that the hills and valleys could happen because the cloud is wandering through a landscape. So there are some questions that we are going to answer later. So I hope that these mysterious things will help you go along with the poem. So we have here now the lines 3 and 4. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils. Suddenly, the speaker, or William Wordsworth, told us that all at once there he saw a group of daffodils, the flowers. We tend to think that daffodils are yellows, majestic, golden, but he referred the daffodils as crowds, just like it contradicts the notion of us in the in the first line that the cloud is traveling as one, but now we have here a crowd. So he elaborated the crowd as the noun host, which is a big group. So the crowd and host means similarly or means the same thing. There were connotations come in, those vague associations that attach to certain words. A crowd is often associated with groups, while the host is often associated with the angels. Maybe William Wordsworth refers to this crowd as the host of angels. So maybe their angelic golden color could depict the daffodils, which primarily is the topic for today. So lines 5 and 6, uh, as I read, beside the lake, beneath the trees, I'm sorry, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. He sees the daffodils beside the lake and underneath some trees. It's a breezy day, and about flowers flutter and dance on the streams. Maybe now is a good time to step outside for the poem for just a second to note that Wordsworth lived in part of the England known as the Lake District, which is filled with lots of hills, valleys, and course, and of course, Lake District. There will be lakes. We can assume that William Wordsworth is walking in a fairly remote and wild part of the countryside. Now, um, fluttering suggests flight, which could bring us back to the angels or even birds or butterflies or insects. They are dancing that usually humans do, so there is personification around here. So the daffodils are given the qualities of human beings and also perhaps some creatures like the birds. So in summary, while wandering like a cloud, the speaker happens upon daffodils fluttering in a breeze on the shore of a lake beneath trees. Daffodils are plants like in the lily family with yellow flowers and a crown shaped like a trumpet. Moving forward to stanza number 2, line 7 to 8. Continuous as the stars that shine and twinkle on the Milky Way. This emphasizes the point that there are a whole lot of daffodils. If we refer to the Milky Way, there will be a lot of stars, a lot of galaxies, which might happen that William Wordsworth would like to uh, think that he represented the daffodils as stars in the Milky Way or in the galaxies, or in the universe. After all, these are all flowers that usually grow in scattered groups in the wild and people well tended gardens. So the flowers stretch continuously without a break like the stars in the Milky Way galaxy, each one gleaming like a star. So the comparison of the stars provides us the new evidence that the speaker is trying to make us think of angels or other heavenly beings. Next is lines 9 to 10. They stretch in never-ending line along the margin of a bay. So, like the Milky Way galaxy, the flowers are roughly concentrated in a line that seems stretched to never ending or in far, far away that you can never see it. The flowers line like a shore or in a bay of the lake, which must be relatively a large lake. If you ever seen the Milky Way galaxy, you never know that galaxy appears to be a bond that has more stars or brighter appearance than the night around it. It's not a perfectly clear line, but more likely a fuzzy approximation of a line. We can imagine the same effect with the flowers. It is not as if there are no flowers outside the shore of the lake, but most are concentrated in the shore, just like a galaxy, which is concentrated with lots of stars. So lines 11 to 12, 10,000 saw I at a glance, tossing their heads in sprightly dance. The speaker takes 10,000 dozen flowers at once, and that is huge. There's a lot of daffodils. So we never know that William Wordsworth could count that fast. But if he knows that there will be a lot, there's a lot of daffodils in that lake, maybe it is just a guess. So the flowers toss their hands. Again, there's a use of personification here while dancing on the wind. We think he means the part of the flower with the petals, the weight of which causes the rest of the flower to bob. Sprightly means happily, joyful, merrily. The word derives from sprite, which refers to the playful little spirits that people once thought inhabited nature. Sprites are supernatural beings, almost like fairies. So, in summary, the daffodils stretch along the shore because there are so many of them. They remind the speaker of the Milky Way, a galaxy that scientists say contains about 1 trillion stars, including our own sun. The speaker humanizes the daffodils when he says that they are engaging in a dance. Okay, next, the third stanza is lines 13 to 14. The waves beside them dance, but they outdid the sparkling waves in glee. The waves also dance in the breeze, but the daffodils seems happier than the waves. This is the point that the entire scene has suddenly been invested in the joyful human-like presence. Since waves do not bring as much as joy to the daffodils or the yellow flowers, the flowers outdid the water with their happiness. The wave sparkles, which creates yet another association with the stars. Everything seems to be gleaming and twinkling and bright with the colorful brightness and shining and sparkling. So, lines 15 to 16, a poet I'm sorry. A poet could not be gay in such a jocund company. The speaker enters the poem. Here, we haven't seen the speaker full personification here in the poem, but in these lines, he entered the scene. Despite his earlier loneliness, the speaker now can't help but feel happy. In some words, they use the word gay to refer happiness, with such a beautiful vision to look at, or as he puts, with such joyful and carefree, or the word jocund, company to hang out with. The flowers and waves feel like companions to him. They are pals, groups, and hags. Lines 17 to 18 refer to us. I gaze and gaze, but little thought what wealth the show to me had brought. The repetition of the word gaze tells us that he kept looking at the flowers for a long time. It's as if the speaker enjoys looking at these daffodils at the time, but doesn't realize exactly how a great how great of a gift has just received with his own vision. Apparently, the speaker doesn't think that he fully appreciated the vision, and at that time, this is a bit odd because he seems to be really enjoying those daffodils. The word wealth expresses a more permanent kind of happiness. It also carries a hint of money that does not quite fit with the supernatural language that has came before. Okay, in summary, in their gleeful pattering and dancing, the daffodils outdo the rippling waves of the lake. But the poet does not at this moment fully appreciate the happy sight before him. In the last line of the stanza, Wordsworth used anastrophe. Writing the show to me had brought instead of the show brought to me. Anastrophe is an inversion of the normal word order. Okay, moving on to the last stanza. For oft when on my couch I lie in vacant or in pensive mood. Now the speaker explains why the daffodils were such a great gift to him or to William Wordsworth. He moves suddenly into the future, back from the lake and the windy day. He's describing it as a habitual action, something he always do or something he always does often. First, he sets the scene. He often sits in the couch, kind of feeling blah about life, or there's nothing to celebrate about life, with no grades and thoughts, with no ideas, with no sights. Sometimes his mind is just empty or vacant, like a bored teenager sitting on the sofa after school and trying to decide what to do. So at the other time, he feels like pensive, which means he thinks a lot of kind of a sad thoughts. It can be both vacant and pensive because one means not thinking and the other means thinking while feeling blue. But he groups the two experiences together because both are vaguely unpleasant and dissatisfying. Lines 21 to 22, they flash upon that inward eye, which is the bliss of the solitude. I'm sorry. So often, when our speaker gets in these downer moods, the image of the daffodils flashes through his mind. The inward eye expresses what Wordsworth felt to be um, deeper, truer spiritual vision. A person cannot share his or her own spiritual vision completely with others and show it as a form of solitude, but its truth and beauty make it blissful. Lines 23 to 24 says that, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. And the memory of the flowers and the lake flashes into his head. He feels happy again. William Wordsworth feels joyful, feels mercy. It's almost merrily, I mean. It's almost like the same experience he had while wandering through nature at the beginning of the poem, when the real daffodils pushed the loneliness out of his head. The memory of the daffodils is as good as the real thing. His heart is set to dancing just like the flowers. He dances along with them. They are cheerful companions once again. So the summary of this stanza is not until the poet later muses about how he saw does he fully appreciate the cheerful sight of the dancing daffodils. Wordsworth again uses anastrophe, writing when on my couch I lie and my heart with pleasure fills. Okay, moving forward, let's go now talk about the analysis of literary devices in I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. So the first, what is literary devices? It used in bringing richness and clarity to the text or a certain text. The writers use them to make their text appealing and more meaningful. Wordsworth has also made the poem deeper and richer by using these devices. The analysis of some of the literary devices used in the poem are the following. Okay, the first one is simile. Simile is a device used to compare an object to another to help readers understand or to clarify the meanings of using the words as or like. There are two similes used in this poem. The first one is I wandered lonely as a cloud. He compares his loneliness with a single cloud. The second is used in the opening of line of the second stanza, which I say or I quote, continuous as the stars that shine. Here, Wordsworth compares the endless row of daffodils with countless stars. The other literary devices, which happened to be the one I'm telling you before or a while ago, is the personification. So, personification is to attribute human characteristics to lifeless objects. The poet has personified daffodils in the third line of the poem, such as when all at once I saw a crowd. The crowd shows the number of daffodils. The second example personification is used in the second stanza as tossing their heads as sprightly dance. It shows that daffodils are humans that can dance. The third example in this literary device is jocund in a jocund company. Here he considered that daffodils are his buoyant company. The next literary device that was used by Wordsworth here is the alliteration. So alliteration is the repetition of the same consonant sounds in the same lines of poetry, such as the use of the sound k in I gazed and gaze, and the use of that sound in what wealth the show to me had brought. The fourth literary device is the assonance. So, unlike alliteration, which produces the same consonant sounds, assonance is the repetition of the vowel sounds in the same line, such as the sound of a in the 10,000 I saw at glance, and sound in they stretch in never ending. The fifth literary device is the consonance. So consonance is just like assonance. It is also the repetition, but here it is the repetition of the consonant words. Consonance. The sound of the, what wealth the show to me had brought, and N sound in the vacant or in pensive. Second to the last literary device is the metaphor. So Wordsworth has used the metaphor in this poem in the last stanza as they flash upon that inward eye. Here, inward eye represents the sweet memory of the daffodils. The last literary device used by Wordsworth is the imagery. The use of imagery makes the reader visualize the writer's feelings and emotions. Wordsworth has used images appealing to the sense of sight, such as lonely as a cloud, a crowd, never-ending line, Milky Way, and Jocund Company. These descriptions help the reader to imagine or feel the same joy felt by the speaker. Let's move forward now to the poetic devices. So poetic and literary devices are the same, but are few used only in poetry. Here is the analysis of some of the poetic devices used in this poem. First stanza. A stanza is a poetic form of some lines. In this poem, there are four stanzas with 6 lines. And the second one is the poetic device. The second one of the poetic devices, I mean, I'm sorry, is the rhyme scheme. The poem follows the rhyme scheme of A B A B C C, where the first line rhymes with the third, the second line rhymes with the fourth, and the fifth and last line rhymes respectively. The third poetic device is the iambic tetrameter. So the poem follows iambic tetrameter, which means there are 4 feet per line, or each unstressed syllable is followed by a stressed syllable, as in the first line of the poem, such as I wandered lonely as a. The last poetic device used here is the parallelism. It is the use of components in a sentence that is similar in their construction, sound, meaning, or meter, such as beside the lake or beneath the trees. Moving forward, let's have now the themes. I'm sorry I kept clicking my mouse. So, what are the themes in this poem? The first one is, of course, happiness. I wandered lonely as a cloud could be referred as lonely, but indeed, in loneliness, we can find our own solitude, and in solitude, we can find our own happiness. It just makes you feel that our life is good. It says that even when you by yourself and lonely or missing your friends, you can use your imagination to find new friends in the world around you. And Wordsworth find these new friends with the daffodils. The second theme is the man in the natural world. Wordsworth is granddaddy of all nature poets, and he is the top form in I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. In her journal entry about the day in question, Wordsworth's sister Dorothy wrote about her surprise at finding so many daffodils in such a strange place, next to a lake and under some trees. How do those daffodils come to get there? She wondered, even guessing that maybe the seeds floated across the lake. The event is one of the minor miracles that nature produces all the time. As anyone who has seen the documentary Planet Earth, we can know that um, nature can make miracles. The next theme is spirituality. So Wordsworth viewed the natural world as a spiritual realm. The idea that the heaven comes down to earth and is viewed as part of the world. So this poem illustrates the principle of natural supernaturalism. The daffodils are like angels, just like what I keep mentioning a while ago. That Wordsworth used these words and phrases that connects with the universe, with the galaxies, with the stars, and of course the host of angels. So the daffodils are like angels and twinkling stars, and the bliss of heaven appears in speaker imagination. He uses Christian ideas and images to make an ode to nature without any reference to God. The last theme is the memory of the past. I wandered lonely as a cloud is almost like a version of remembering what is written in the past. In the memory of these beautiful things serve as a comfort to the speaker. Even the experiences of viewing them has ended. He can always draw his imagination to reproduce the joy of the event and to remember the spiritual wisdom that it provided. In this case, I wandered lonely as a cloud. Make us realize that we have different perspective in life, and sometimes reminiscing the past can bring us joy. Just like William's Wordsworth, we can find friend in any form, and the daffodils are these form. So before I end this discussion, I just want to say to you that um, even in the tiniest details, or even in the um, tiny things, we can find our joy. Solitude is not only being alone; it also means finding yourself in the long run. And just like William Wordsworth tries to say to us that being lonely, just like a cloud, is not a bad thing. It is also a good thing that we can find our own self, our own spiritual relation to God, and of course, we can see the beauty of what God offers to the human race. Basically, if we see things in a different perspective, we can definitely saw a brighter and a more glamorous things around us. And it is our duty and responsibility to take care of these things. No matter what happens, find your joy in the bliss of being alone. Again, I am Kenny Garcia, and thank you for listening.